Have you ever sensed something strange about a person? Close to you, like their smile didn't quite reach their eyes, or their compliments felt slightly off? Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, believed that the unconscious always leaks through, no matter how much we try to suppress it. People may pretend to support you, but their body language, tone, and micro-expressions can tell a very different story. Beneath politeness can lie envy. Beneath love, a fear of your growth. In this video, we'll explore 8 signs that someone close to you may secretly resent or dislike you. These signs are subtle but powerful. This is not to make you paranoid, but to empower your awareness. Because once you see the truth clearly, you can stop questioning yourself and start protecting your peace. Sign 1. Emotional inconsistency. There's a silent kind of suffering that begins when someone close to you becomes emotionally unpredictable. One moment, they seem like your greatest supporter, laughing at your jokes, asking thoughtful questions, responding to your texts immediately. The next, their tone goes flat. Their eyes drift. Their replies become cold, short and different. No argument, no explanation, just a shift you can't explain. You start overanalyzing. Did you say too much? Did you do too little? And this emotional inconsistency becomes its own form of quiet psychological torment. Carl Jung believed that human beings carry unconscious emotional material, repressed insecurities, jealousy, fear of inferiority, and when those feelings are not confronted, they don't vanish, they leak. Through tone, through silence, through inconsistency. Someone may genuinely want to be close to you, but they are also battling an inner shadow, the part of them that resents your strength, envies your peace, or feels unworthy in your presence. So they swing between warmth and coldness, between admiration and withdrawal, and you're left in the space between, confused, hurt, craving stability that never comes. You might even begin adjusting your behavior to avoid triggering their detachment, thinking if you're more agreeable, more helpful, more quiet, they'll stay kind. But the truth is, this isn't about you. It never was. Jung wrote that everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. And this includes the people who act out their own discomfort on us. Emotional inconsistency is a projection of their war within, a war between the part of them that needs connection and the part of them that fears it, rejects it, or envies it. The tragedy is that they may not even realize they're doing it, but your nervous system knows. You feel the freeze in their energy, the emptiness behind their compliments, the sudden lack of presence. You sense it in your gut before your mind can make sense of it. That's not your imagination, that's intuition. That's wisdom. And over time, if this cycle repeats, it's not just emotional unavailability. It's a sign of resentment, discomfort, or even hidden hostility. People who love you with peace don't make you anxious for no reason. They don't make you beg for emotional consistency. They don't keep you guessing about where you stand. Because when someone is at peace with themselves, their presence is steady, and when they're not, their inconsistency is the first crack in the mask. Pay attention. You're not crazy. You're just finally seeing clearly. Sign 2. Backhanded compliments. There's a special kind of confusion that arises when someone compliments you, but something about the way they say it doesn't feel right. They look at you and say, wow, I didn't expect you to pull that off. Or you actually look good today. Or even, you're smarter than you seem. And you pause, unsure whether to say thank you or walk away, because although it's framed as praise, it doesn't land like it. You don't feel seen. You feel reduced. There's a tension in the tone, a subtle jab underneath the smile. And that's exactly what a backhanded compliment is, a weapon disguised as kindness. Carl Jung warned us that people rarely see the full truth about themselves, especially the darker parts. He called it the shadow, the traits, desires, and insecurities that we push deep into the unconscious because we're too afraid or ashamed to face them. But the shadow doesn't stay hidden. It shows up in projections and how we treat the people around us, especially those who mirror something we envy, fear, or cannot accept in ourselves. So when someone gives you a backhanded compliment, it's often not about you at all. It's about them. It's about what your success, your confidence, or your happiness triggers in them. Maybe they wish they had your courage. Maybe they feel small next to your light. But rather than reflect inward, they try to dim your glow just enough to feel okay with themselves. Backhanded compliments are emotional double binds. If you accept the compliment, you feel like you're swallowing a tiny insult. If you challenge it, they call you sensitive or defensive. It's a psychological trap, a way to assert superiority under the mask of civility. And often the person saying it genuinely believes they're being kind, because they haven't faced the envy or frustration lurking just beneath their surface. But your body knows. You feel the tension, the hesitation, the sense that what was said doesn't quite match what was meant. That's not paranoia, it's perception. You're reading energy, not words. And the energy says, I want to appear supportive, but I secretly want to bring you down. The more often this happens, the more it erodes your self-trust. You begin to question your intuition. You wonder if you're making things up. But remember, true support doesn't carry a sting. Real compliments don't require decoding. When someone is secure in themselves, they don't need to undercut others to feel worthy. Jung believed that those who have made peace with their shadow do not feel the need to dominate others. They can admire without comparison and support without jealousy. If someone keeps giving you compliments that make you shrink instead of shine, it's not love, it's rivalry in disguise. And the sooner you see it, the sooner you can stop mistaking their bitterness for connection. Sign 3. Conditional support. Support is supposed to feel safe. It's supposed to be a warm, steady presence, especially from someone close to you. But when support becomes conditional, when it comes and goes based on what you can offer, or how low you are, something deeply unsettling begins to take root. You notice that they are most present when you're struggling, when you're uncertain, doubting yourself, looking for a shoulder to lean on. They become the voice of reason, the helper, the rescuer. But the moment you begin to rise, when your confidence returns, when you feel grounded and free, they withdraw. Their tone changes, their energy dulls, or they simply disappear. Carl Jung believed that our relationships are often unconscious contracts built not on honesty, but on hidden needs and emotional bargains. When someone supports you only when you are down, it often means their sense of worth is entangled in your weakness. You being broken gives them purpose. You needing them makes them feel important. But when you no longer need saving, when you begin to find your own light, they no longer know how to connect. And unconsciously, they may even resent your growth, because it disrupts the power dynamic they secretly relied on. This is where conditional support becomes dangerous. It creates an illusion of closeness. You may believe they care because they were there for you, but in reality, they were only there as long as your pain served their unspoken role. The moment your empowerment begins, their discomfort begins too. They may subtly undermine your decisions, remind you of past failures, or suddenly withdraw the emotional availability you once depended on. Not out of malice, but out of a fear they don't understand. Because your healing threatens their place in your life and forces them to confront the emptiness in their own. True support is not transactional. It doesn't hinge on whether you are above or below someone emotionally. Jung emphasized that wholeness comes when we embrace our own power, and part of that journey is learning to spot when someone only loves the wounded version of you. Ask yourself, are they celebrating my growth? Are they proud when I win? Or do they retreat when I stop needing their validation? If love only exists when you're struggling, it's not love, it's a contract disguised as care. And breaking that contract is often the first brave step toward real freedom. Sign 4. Undermining comparisons. There's a quiet violence in comparison. Not the kind that's loud or openly competitive, but the kind that slips in sideways. Masked as casual conversation, seemingly innocent remarks, or well-timed anecdotes about other people. You're excited you've just accomplished something important. Maybe small to the world, but big for you. You share it, hoping to be seen. Maybe even celebrated. And then it comes, that's great. My friend just got promoted to a similar position. And she's managing twice the team. Or that's cute, my brother did that in college. They don't outright belittle you. But suddenly your win feels smaller, less important, less yours. Carl Jung believed that comparison is a form of projection. People see in you what they are either afraid to claim in themselves or what they have long buried. When someone is deeply uncomfortable with their own limitations or sense of inadequacy, they may unconsciously diminish yours, not to hurt you, but to soothe themselves. It's not the other person's achievement that matters, it's the way your moment of joy triggers something unresolved in them. So they bring someone else into the room, someone who's doing it better, faster or bigger. It's their way of shifting the spotlight, of reminding you subtly that you're not as exceptional as you feel. Over time, these undermining comparisons chip away at your self-trust. You begin second-guessing your growth. You start to wonder if you're ever enough. And worse, you might even internalize the belief that success only matters if it outshines someone else's. But here's the truth: people who are truly at peace with themselves don't feel the need to measure you against others. They can celebrate your moment without pulling out a yardstick. Jung once said, the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. And the people who haven't done that, who haven't made peace with where they are, often can't stand to see you accept yourself. Undermining comparison is rarely obvious. It's dressed in politeness, wrapped in a chuckle, hidden behind a just saying. But it lands heavy, and you feel it in your chest, like a sudden contraction. You shrink just a little bit, not because you're weak, but because you've been subtly pushed into a corner. If this happens often, it's not random. It's a sign that the person in front of you might be wrestling with their own shadow and using your light as a target. But you are not here to compete with ghosts. You are not here to constantly prove your worth. The people who truly love you will never measure your joy against someone else's. They will hold space for your journey without condition. And that, Jung would agree, is the rarest form of connection. Sign 5. Lack of joy in your success. There's a moment, sometimes subtle, sometimes piercing, when you achieve something meaningful and look towards someone you care about, expecting joy in their eyes, but it's not there. Instead, you're met with a delayed smile, a hollow "that's nice," or worse. Complete silence, no message, no acknowledgement, nothing. And something inside you breaks a little, because what you were hoping for wasn't praise or validation. It was simple joy, someone sharing in your happiness without condition or restraint. But it never comes. Carl Jung believed that what we fail to process within ourselves often spills out in distorted ways toward others. When someone struggles to feel joy for your success, it often has very little to do with what you achieved. It's about what your achievement awakens in them. Your growth might confront them with their own stagnation. Your confidence may magnify their self-doubt. Your happiness might expose the quiet unhappiness they've tried to ignore. And instead of celebrating you, they retreat either into silence, sarcasm, or passive detachment. This lack of joy isn't always cruel. Often it's unconscious. They may not even realize they're withholding support. But the impact is real. You start to dim yourself, to share less, to shrink your wins so they'll feel less threatened. You may even internalize guilt, feeling bad for your own progress. That is emotional self-betrayal. And it happens when we surround ourselves with people who can only hold space for our pain, not our power. The painful irony is that people who cannot celebrate your success are often those who claim to love you. But Jung warned us, love that is threatened by your wholeness is not really love, it's attachment. Real connection isn't measured by how someone sits with you in the dark, but by whether they can stand next to you in the light. If someone becomes distant every time you shine, it's not a reflection of your arrogance, it's a reflection of their insecurity. And so the absence of joy becomes louder than words. You feel it in the silence, the delayed replies, the awkward body language. You start wondering, shouldn't this feel different? And that question itself is the answer. Because when love is real, joy is natural. It flows without resistance. It doesn't hesitate or hide. It meets your success with pride, not competition. And anything thus, no matter how long you've known them, is a signal from the deeper psyche that something isn't aligned. Carl Jung would call this a projection. They are projecting their unrealized self onto you. Your joy becomes a mirror, and instead of smiling back, they flinch. But your purpose is not to shrink for someone else's comfort. Your growth is sacred. Your light is not too much. And those meant to walk with you will never treat your wins as threats. They will rise with you, not recoil from you. Sign 6. Subtle sabotage. Subtle sabotage is the betrayal that doesn't look like betrayal. It doesn't shout or slam doors. It whispers. It masks itself in helpfulness or concern. It's the friend who forgets to pass along your message. The partner who accidentally schedules something important on your big day. The sibling who distracts you just before an important deadline. At first, you give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they're just forgetful. Maybe it wasn't intentional. But then it happens again and again, and a strange pattern starts to emerge, one where every time you begin to build momentum, something or someone disrupts it. Carl Jung taught that what we repress in ourselves does not simply disappear. It gathers energy in the unconscious and demands expression. Subtle sabotage is often the unconscious acting out of envy, insecurity, or fear of being left behind. Someone close to you may not admit even to themselves that your progress unsettles them, that your discipline reminds them of their distraction, that your ambition shines a light on where they've given up. So, rather than support your growth, they interfere, not in obvious ways, but in small, disorienting gestures that make you question yourself. The missed call, the critical comment before your presentation, the unexpected emotional drama right when you're gaining clarity. What makes subtle sabotage so painful is that it often comes from those we trust. People we love. People we assume want the best for us. And that betrayal cuts deeper because it's not just an external obstacle, it becomes internal. You begin to question your path. You lose rhythm. You doubt your ability. And this is where Jung's work becomes vital, because he reminds us that recognizing the shadow in others begins with recognizing it in ourselves. You must become conscious of how their sabotage is affecting your psyche. You must name what is happening, even if they can't. Sometimes, sabotage comes cloaked in advice. Are you sure this is realistic? They ask, just when you found courage. Or they raise doubts not because they care about your well-being, but because your courage is making them uncomfortable. The danger lies not in their words, but in how those words infiltrate your mind, how their hesitation becomes your hesitation. And if you're not awake to it, their fear becomes your limit. But here's the deeper truth: people who truly want to see you grow will water you even if they feel left behind. They will celebrate you even if they're still struggling. They won't need to slow you down to feel stable, because their love isn't rooted in control, it's rooted in freedom. Subtle sabotage is the opposite. It's the shadow disguised as care. It's the wound pretending to be wisdom. And once you see it, you can no longer pretend it's love. Jung believed that awareness is the first step toward individuation, the process of becoming your true self. And sometimes that process begins with the courage to distance yourself from those who undermine your path. Not out of spite, but out of self-respect. You were not born to carry someone else's fear on your back. You were born to walk your own road, fully awake. Sometimes, the people closest to us don't harm us with words or open conflict, but with subtle patterns, quiet withdrawals, and disguised negativity. These 8 signs are not random. They are warnings from the unconscious, echoed in Carl Jung's timeless insights. When someone is uncomfortable with your growth, they may not even realize they're acting out from jealousy, fear, or unresolved trauma. But their behavior tells the truth their words won't. So ask yourself honestly, are you surrounded by people who see you or just what they need from you? Do they celebrate your journey or compete with it? You don't need drama to know a relationship is draining you. You just need to feel the truth your intuition already whispers. Thank you for watching. If this resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share. Keep protecting your energy. Keep choosing yourself. And remember, the more you grow, the clearer everything and everyone becomes.